Yo, 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 it's MC Float, aka Old Salty. Here we go, here we go. I'm answering podcast questions like, yes, that is a good question. Thank you for sending it in. Or, I don't understand what your podcast question means, but thank you anyway for keeping it clean. Or, hey, that last question that you sent in really confused me, and I didn't really know what you meant, and it's very rambly, but we're just gonna answer it anyway and see. Yeah. MC Salty, or Old Salty or something. All right, hey everybody. Graham over here.
Hey, Old Salty.
or whatever.
Jake over here.
And no Ashkahn with us today, but instead we're going to be answering, I was going to say all your construction questions, but I guess really just a single...
Probably just one, maybe.
One construction question is what's on the docket.
Little morsel.
Today's question is it okay to keep the drop ceilings in the space I'm moving into? It used to be medical offices.
Short answer, no. It's not ideal by any means.
Yeah, and this is like my instinct whenever a question starts with, should I keep blank in my float center when I'm moving in? Like the answer, like my instinct is always no, because we've been burned so many times by trying to keep different amounts of construction there. Like I always just assume we're going to have to tear everything out.
I wanted to keep a stray cat once when I moved into a space. It didn't pan out well for me.
Sure, yeah, biological organisms also problematic, but even just in the construction materials, it rarely works. The float centers are just so demanding and so precise with what we need. Trying to keep anything that was there before is probably going to cause you more problems and more headaches in the long run than just getting rid of it.
And this in particular, so this drop ceiling, this T-bar ceiling, this grid ceiling, the problem is humidity. The problem is moisture.
You naming it all those different things made me realize maybe we should actually describe what this is.
So, oh yeah.
And you've seen them before. It is that kind of gridded ceiling. It usually has some kind of metal framing or metal framework,
T-bars,
grid going across the entire T-bars going across the entire ceiling, and then panels that sit within them.
Yeah, and they're usually, it's decorative. They're concealing ductwork or conduits, things
really,
like that.
I mean, if you look up in your dentist office or just in any kind of office space, you're very likely to find them.
Very common.
In a classroom, very likely to see those things. I remember sitting in my classrooms as a kid looking up and seeing the ones that had been damaged by water.
Throwing a pencil into, that was one
of my,
sure,
throwing a pencil into them.
Trying to get the pencil to stick into it. Well, if a pencil can stick into it, as you can see, moisture can probably get inside there.
Good transition.
They're very, they're very porous. They hold a lot of moisture, and you have this weird temperature differential between, especially if it's above your float room, between your room and what's above that space. So that can lead to real issues of humidity building up. What do you do if the landlord, assuming you're leasing a space, won't let you pull it out because they don't want to deal with it afterwards? We've seen that a couple times. What we've recommended to people and what they've done is they've swapped out those cellulose or mineral wool or a bunch of other things that we were just looking into, like what they're made of, with like vinyl panels, 2x4 panels that fit right into that grid, and then we'll have them use some contractor grade silicone, some caulk around the edges to try to keep out that moisture from the float rooms, but definitely not ideal by any means.
And so it's kind of this, you have a few things going on with the drop ceiling typically that aren't ideal. One is they're often made out of materials that moisture, if it can't immediately damage, which often it can, thinking back to the ceiling panels that have been kind of rained out and stuff, or at the very least, they have these holes that sound can get through. Mm-hmm. So they're not the perfect panels to have up there, even if you have the ceiling. So being able to replace those with something solid, something that is 100% impermeable, and then, like Jake said, the extra step of kind of siliconing those seams really makes sure that even though you have kept to the letter of the landlord's law in this case, if it's a requirement, you have that T-bar ceiling, you've still essentially out of it created something that's very solid and waterproof.
Yeah.
Seamless.
There's one other thing when you start thinking about these. They do perform differently in different environments. Up in Portland, like we have a lot of rain. It's not going to survive very well here. We have a lot of moisture. We have seen some of these ceilings do pretty well in like the mountains of Colorado, where it's really arid, or down in Arizona, where it's really dry and really arid again. Yeah, just something to think about there. If you're like looking at cost, maybe the hallways you can leave as these other type of panels, the cheaper ones, and then just use the vinyl panels, which are like 10 times as expensive as the regular ones, in your float rooms. So.
And yeah, I mean, one nice thing about them, or about having kind of any suspended ceiling like that, is really easy access above them. Like that's something
it's a silver lining. Yeah,
nice.
You got that going for you.
I'm kind of jealous. I mean, whenever we have to make changes to our ceiling, we have to cut into it, and it's this huge, big hassle.
Yeah, we're using a suspended drywall ceiling, so we're cutting through a suspended piece of drywall, and then we're cutting through another layer of drywall to get to things.
So in an ideal world, you can just have a regular ceiling. And then beyond that, I still like a suspended drywall ceiling over modified drop ceiling or T-bar ceiling, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, when we're looking at like minimum viable product, like what's the basic? Yeah, we'll usually start with maybe a 9-foot tall room, regular drywall. And if that's not enough, we'll add some acoustical compound. We'll throw up some soundproofing drywall right over the top of it. At Float On, we have a couple open tanks. It was determined that even that was not enough, and that's when we implemented the suspended drywall ceiling. Kind of like the T-bar ceiling's concept of suspending a whole ceiling from wires, but much more robust. We're hanging soundproofing drywall. We're using these metal studs.
You're essentially making a ceiling that like, the solid has studs, has the full covering of the soundproofing.
All hanging from
drywall,
cables.
And then suspended with cables.
Yeah.
So, a little crazier, but same basic idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Same, I also have for places that have a really high vaulted ceiling, you can still have those with access above them too, which is really cool. I'm super jealous of float centers that have that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Rarely keep existing construction, including your ceiling, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for listening today. If you have any other questions, please send those over to floatanksolutions.com/podcast. And we look forward to answering them with you.
And thanks, everyone.
Yeah.